If you're aspiring to be a good creator, this video isn't for you. This is for people who want to become great creators, whose mission isn't to simply rack up views and get attention, but to put something genuine into the world that stands the test of time. There isn't enough desire to be great in the creator economy. Everyone's focused on optimizing for short-term metrics because it placates a sense of insecurity until their next upload. You could argue that more people today are creating for the dopamine hit rather than for the love of creating. No one will ever admit that to you. They'll tell you that their why is to inspire people, but ask them to inspire them to do what, and they don't know. That why falls apart. This behavior of chasing views and trends is not conducive to a long-term career. Sure, it can lead to hyper growth, but your rise will be just as fast as your fall. I'm sure you can think of lots of creators that were popping 2 years ago that you haven't heard from in a while. The problem is everyone is focused on what their peers are doing and not enough on what they themselves should be doing. If you want to know what it takes to build a successful career over the long term, don't look around you. Look back. There are plenty of examples of artists and creators who have stood the test of time, and there aren't many better examples of that than Queen.
Ready to go and do this? Yeah, hang on.
Queen was a band formed in the early 1970s that went on to become one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. If you've never gone through their discography, you should. The amount of classic songs they put out is staggering. And the word classic here isn't used lightly either. It's not just a synonym for great. Queen also has a lot of great songs that they released over the course of their 15 studio albums, but a classic song has to stand the test of time. What's a metric we can use to quantify a song as a classic? Getting over 500 million streams more than 40 years after its initial release is probably a safe bet. If we can all agree on that as our metric, then Queen put out 7 consecutive albums with at least one classic song on it. This excludes a live album, a greatest hits album, and a movie soundtrack, but here are all of those songs as of the end of 2022. When you look at it like this, it's actually crazy to think about the fact that not only did all these songs come from the same band, but they came out with back-to-back albums for almost a decade. To put that into context, as of the end of 2022, Drake only has a 4-album run with at least one song with 500 million streams, and 5 albums in his entire career. How has Queen been able to pull this off? The answer comes when you listen to each of those songs back-to-back. They're all different. None of them sound the same. They're so different, in fact, that you could probably play them for the average person. They wouldn't even realize that they're all from the same band. Sure, each track has staples of a Queen song, Freddie's vocals, Brian's first guitar, and Roger's high harmonies, but that doesn't mean they're used the same way every time. These are the bricks they use to build the house, but they build the house differently every time. The point is that Queen was able to produce a masterful discography by consistently innovating their sound. They refused to stick with what had worked and repeatedly pushed to find their next evolution. This wasn't easy and was never guaranteed to work, but it's the reason we're talking about Queen right now and not Mott the Hoople. Who's Mott the Hoople? Exactly.
And I'm always searching for new ideas and something new because I feel that's what keeps me going. I don't like to be set in one way for too long.
We can sit here today and call all of these songs classics because we have the benefit of hindsight, but you can't tell whether something will stand the test of time when it's first released. In fact, a lot of classics start out as the opposite. Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the greatest songs of all time, is no exception. When Queen went to the record company and told them they wanted to release a 6-minute operatic rock song as the single to their 4th studio album, they were told the radio would never play it, 6 minutes was too long, and that they had to cut it down. Despite all of that, Queen trusted their intuition, went ahead, and took the risk. The rest, as we say, is history. Looking back at all of these hits makes it easy to think that every risk will lead to a success, but that's not the case. In 1982, Queen attempted a disco record in the form of Hot Space, but the album was panned upon release. Both fans and critics alike were disappointed in the band's departure from their usual rock style. To this day, this album has some of the least streams of any Queen album. Not every risk is going to work.
You have to take risks at certain points, and that was a point at which we decided to take a risk.
If we were going to go for it, you had to go for it.
These are all different videos by different creators. Last Leave the Circle wins $500,000. Last Leave the Circle wins $10,000. Last Leave the Circle wins $10,000. And Last Leave the Circle wins $10,000. They're stealing like an artist, and then there's just straight up stealing. When it comes to YouTube, more often than not, people are just stealing. As soon as something works for one creator, whether that be a video idea, a thumbnail design, or a title structure, creators from across the platform rush in to take that idea and use it for themselves. Whenever creators see a successful video, the first thought they have isn't, why did this work? How can I learn from it and incorporate it into my next video? It's, I need to remake this video for myself. To be fair to these creators, the reason they copy these videos is because it works. And what that says about our viewing habits is something we can talk about another time, but each of those Last to Leave the Circle videos has over 5 million views. There's a method to the madness, but from a creative standpoint, it's uninspiring. It also sets the wrong example for up-and-coming creators. This is conditioning them to think that the key to success isn't in originality, it's in plugging themselves into a formula that leads to cheap views. The problem with this is that aspiring creators aren't coming up with anything unique. They're just making knockoff Mr. Beast and Iraq style videos. In the movie industry, we look at obvious knockoffs and laugh at them, but in the YouTube world, we think it's the path to a silver play button.
We've actually sort of just done the things that we wanted to do. We haven't sort of pandered to sort of public taste or anything. And I think we've tried to be aware of what's going on, always one step ahead.
Queen pushed the envelope because they wanted to be great. Most YouTubers don't care about being great. They care about getting attention. What's the best way to get attention? To replicate what has worked for others in hopes of getting the same views they did. One of my favorite Freddie Mercury quotes is, if there were a book of rules, everybody would buy it and then everyone would be churning out the same old trash. There might not be a rule book in the traditional sense, but there is certainly a formula for success on YouTube. If you follow the trends and do them well enough, you're gonna get views, but this has led us to a place where creators are too afraid to take risks, and as a result, we're left to watch regurgitated content every week. We don't see what Queen did happening on YouTube. We don't see creators taking consistent risks, trusting their intuition, and putting it all on the line to be great. We see data-driven insights leading to more cracked-out, candy-style videos designed to stimulate your brain often enough so that you don't click off the video. Is this really what you want as a creator? To find a way to manufacture content that numbs your audience's brain just enough that they keep watching so your retention stays high? Don't take this to mean that it's easy to get views. Making a well-crafted video takes a ton of work and is really hard to do. There's a lot of talent in the creative world. There's just not a lot of artistry. Now, while the idea of a pure artist is romantic, you need more than that to make it work on YouTube. You need a level of marketing and distribution. The problem with YouTube is that the pendulum has swung too far in the direction of distribution and away from making great art. The same way you need to be a distributor to find success on YouTube, you need to be an artist if you want your work to stand the test of time. Trends work today. They don't work tomorrow. Of course, you have to respect the means of distribution, but you shouldn't only create for them. Make the art that you want to make, that only you can make, and do everything in your power to get it out there. The reason no one wants to put out something original is because it's risky. Everyone is terrified of a video underperforming, so instead of taking a risk, they fall back on what's already worked. But here's the thing. No one's gonna remember the 12th person that makes a last to leave the circle video. They're probably gonna remember the person who did it first, and the person who did it best. Unless you think you can actually elevate a trend, you're doing nothing for yourself by making a cheapened version of a good video. To go down as one of the greatest creators of your generation means you have to be willing to take those risks. You have to trust your intuition, which means doing things where you don't have enough data to support it, but your gut tells you is a good idea anyway. This will naturally lead to a few flops, but it will also lead to a few home runs. You're gonna have down moments in your career no matter what. The question you need to ask yourself is do you want them to come off the back of taking risks and trying to push the platform forward, or because you couldn't keep up with the trends?
I don't want to sort of churn out the same old formula or the successful formula. I mean, I don't particularly want to sort of write a whole load of rhapsodies, you know?
Now, it wouldn't be fair to say all this and not acknowledge the elephant in the room. Queen put out a new album every year. YouTubers upload a new video like every week. The album to video comparison isn't an equal one. Instead, it's better to look at the type of content a creator uploads over a period of time. It's not comparing an album to video, it's comparing album to season. The point isn't that all of your videos need to be different from each other. In order to build an audience on YouTube, people have to have a sense of what to expect from you. They need to know what bricks you're going to use to build the house. Similar content week to week isn't a problem. Where you run into trouble is when you're uploading similar content year over year. If you want to be a creator that lasts, one that people remember in a decade, you have to continue to innovate. Whenever people talk about Mr. Beast's journey on YouTube, it often goes something like this. He started making Minecraft videos in his bedroom, and now he's doing things like recreating Squid Games. That story is a lot different if the conversation goes like this. He started making Minecraft videos in his bedroom, and now he's still making Minecraft videos. Part of Mr. Beast's staying power is his hyper focus on making the best videos possible and his refusal to stick with the status quo. Now, there's a pressure that comes with constantly needing to innovate, especially when you're in Jimmy's position where a large chunk of creators are looking to his next upload to inspire their future content. But if you want to be one of the best, that pressure comes with the territory.
I think he's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And he really took it to such great heights. A lot of people burn out because they can't. It's the pressure that you get by being in the public eye like that. The more he gets, the more he sort of thrives on. He's got staying power.
This video isn't for Mr. Beast though, it's for everyone else. The people who look to creators like Mr. Beast to be told exactly what it is they should make next. It's understandable why so many people do though. If a video tanks, it could tank their whole company, and that's a vulnerable position to be in. That's something most people would empathize with, and if put in a similar situation would likely be just as risk averse. The thing is though, this is a position you never want to be in as a creator. Mr. Beast is able to take risks and do things no one else is willing to do because his livelihood is not dependent on his channel.
Ever since I got my first YouTube paycheck, I just always spent it back on YouTube. I'm just focused on making the best videos possible, period. I don't care about making money. I don't care about time. I don't care about anything. I just want to make the best videos on the planet.
He's able to do this because he has money coming in from other revenue streams.
We have Beast Burger, Feastables. We have a company where we dub channels, which runs our Mr. Beast Espanol and stuff like that. We do that for other people. We have Mr. Beast Gaming, Beast Reacts. Yeah, merch as another one. Honestly, I'd have to like open my bank account and look through it.
There's a time and place where your one and only focus needs to be on creating your content and nothing else. However, your aim shouldn't be to make your videos your entire livelihood, because when this happens, your propensity to take a risk goes down dramatically. If you have something else that can cover the bills, this leaves you free to create whatever it is you want to create, take risks, and make something that truly lasts.
Well, it's become such a big business, you know? One can't just sort of look upon it as a musical career and forget all the business side, because I don't think it works that way.
Can you make a career of ripping off other videos and repeating a formula you found to work? Sure, but it's not the path to take if you want to be great. Unfortunately, this is the path most creators are on. A lot of them will tell you they want to be great, but their actions say otherwise. A lot of creators are taking the safe route, only doing what works and optimizing for short-term vanity metrics. 99% of those creators won't be around in 10 years because people always get bored of the same old thing, and a lot of these creators won't be able to adapt. At the end of the day, the creators that take risks and push the medium forward are the ones who will be remembered. Great artists give the audience something they didn't even know they wanted. Good artists give the audience exactly what they're asking for. Great artists stand the test of time. Good ones don't.
Fuck off.